Mary Crafts Homer is president and CEO of Culinary Crafts, Utah's largest off-premise caterer and 13-time Best of State winner for catering. Mary is heavily involved with many local, national, and international nonprofits. She holds leadership roles with Visit Salt Lake, Utah Valley University's Woodbury School of Business, and the International Caterers Association. Mary's rock-solid character has attracted community recognition as well. Mary received Utah Valley University's Kirk Englehardt Ethics Award, as well as numerous other awards from community organizations. At the end of her long days, Mary enjoys spending time with her husband, 3 children, all of whom work with her at Culinary Crafts, and her 6 grandchildren.
Well, today is an interesting day for me because one of the things I like to do most is speak. And someone said to me, well, what are you going to talk about? And I said, well, I don't know yet, but I'm going to jot down my ideas, as I always do, in my trusty handy book. And I started that about 5 o'clock because I had seen a slide of this room. And this room showed distinctly 3 podiums, one there, one here, and one over there. And I did get an email from Bonnie that said, if you'd like to have a PowerPoint so you can see what you're going to be saying up there right in front of you, by all means, please send it to us. I said, no, I won't need it, because I'd seen the slide where I get to put my book. When I walked in here and looked down and saw that, what the hell happened to the podium? And she said, and after I'm just kind of thinking, like, well, I can't possibly memorize all that in just the 2 minutes I have. What the heck am I going to do? And then, of course, very graciously, Susan said, you could take the book up with you if you wanted to. And so, as Denise was speaking, I just pictured myself up here. Oops, there we go. That's the next great thing I was afraid of. And so I decided one of the things I was going to talk about tonight was something that has transformed my life. And it goes something like this, and I'll talk about it later, the concept of letting go of fear. And I was scared to death to come up here and fail without my book. But what would I do if I were no longer afraid? Okay. So here we go, from the cuff. So let's talk about what we're supposed to talk about. Let's start there. What I lead, how I lead, and why I lead. That's a good place to start. I don't think I did that in that black book, but we're going to start there. So what I lead my company. I am the CEO and the president. But I have to have other things going on because at age 63, a couple years from now, that doesn't happen anymore. I don't lead anymore. I do something different with my life. Well, there had to be more to life than just being a CEO of a company. So finally, I began to lift my head up and realize there could be more to life. And that what I could do is be of service. Now, in this community, many people think when they think of service, they think of going to their church and serving in their church, which is all a great and powerful thing, but there are so many other places that we can serve, that need us to serve, and we think we don't belong there because we're serving over here. So I could be involved and be a leader in community service. I also can be a leader in the food profession, okay? Not just my company, but in the food profession. I speak internationally. I've won many international awards for food, and I could go where no one had gone before with food. Lighting cotton candy on fire, taking blow torches to char meat, you know, exciting places that I could lead. But then, how do I lead? I wanted to make sure that I led by example, but not by just example on top of a hill, but by what I call vulnerable example. By being vulnerable, by being willing to show myself who I am, my weaknesses, my struggles, my reality, you then can relate to that. And you get that old adage, if she can do it, I can do it because I don't have as many problems as she has. And you can do it. And why I lead. Why I lead is pretty easy. because I love. And I don't know if that makes any sense, but hopefully by the end, if you hold on to that little piece, it will. I think as I look around this room, and as I've known different women in my life, I am probably the least likely among you to be a leader. Now, that may seem odd to you now, but I think that's been my mission in life, to overcome fear. I was and have been, and many times still are, and find myself every day living in fear. And you can be afraid of so many things. And they look like this from the time you were little. I'm afraid of not having friends, afraid of not doing well in school, afraid of what my parents will think, afraid of what my grandparents will think, afraid of what my church will think, afraid of what my God will think, and on and on and on. Afraid about my spouse will think, afraid about what my employees will think. Am I dressing right? Am I looking right? Am I smart enough? Am I pretty enough? Am I good enough? Fear was strangling me. Strangling me. And it tempered every decision I made. I want you to think about what it is you personally are afraid of. I'm not talking about being afraid of, who's going to win the election. Okay. We'll save that for me, huh? Okay. And don't get me started. Okay. And I'm not talking about being afraid of, when I go home tonight, what if I get hit by a car? Okay, those kind of fears are not realistic, let's think. But fear drives so many people's decisions of what they're going to be, how they're going to dress, what they're going to say, whether or not they're going to do something. And a true leader cannot be led by fear. So at age 50, that's a long ways down the road, I decided it had to be something different. There we go. So this is me at age 50. On the outside, a smile. On the inside, a quivering mess of fears. Unhappy. Thinking every day, how do I get through the day? Now, I was already leading. I was already the CEO of my company. I was already doing many things. I already had family and children, but they were facades. They were not real. As I realized that I had to begin to make changes in my life, how was I going to do it? How was I going to let go of fear? It's easy to say, it's easy for me to say to you and to you and to you, just let go of your fears. But how? That seems to be the key question as we look. So I began to ask myself a key question. And this is it. And it's a secret I'm going to share with you. And if used properly, it will change your life. At every point, at every day, when you need to make a decision, I want you to ask yourself this question. What would I do if I were no longer afraid? What I did, I went and bought a gold gym membership, which is now Vasa. Still go. I stood on the last row on the treadmill in my big black sweats. I walked at 2 on the treadmill for 15 minutes, thought it was the end of the world. And I went every day, because when I got up every day, I asked myself, what am I going to do today if I am no longer afraid? If I'm not afraid of making a fool of myself at the gym, if I'm not afraid of being the fattest person in the gym, if I'm not afraid of wheezing and no one can hear me, what would I do today? I would get on my clothes and I would get to the gym. And since age 50, I have gone 6 days a week, every day. I am the strongest person at my gym, woman. And if I see another woman who's lifting more than I am, that's all right. I lift more. And when I get home, I walk in the door like this. And my husband said, there was a woman lifting a lot of weight today, huh? I go, you got that? But that thought process has spurred me on to new things. So it's not a matter of reinventing yourself. That's not how you lead, by reinventing who you are. The way you lead is by revealing who you are. You reveal what's inside, layer by layer by layer, and you do that by not being afraid. When I took this photo, I had just won an award. It was probably my favorite award of all time. One of the 10 coolest entrepreneurs in Utah. And I got that award at age 62. And I thought, that is a damn good thing. I like that. So I put on my black leather Harley jacket, my thing. I took a chef knife, I stuck an apple on the end of it, and I went to take my picture. And they said, well, are you ready? I said, yep. And they took my picture. I revealed a piece of me. I revealed a piece of everyone. So now that picture is on my business card. And when they look at that, it says something about me. And what I hope it says about me is, there's a woman who no longer lives in fear. There's a woman who's making choices on a daily basis to be true to herself, true to her family, true to her values, without letting fear rule the way. Now, one of my least favorite words in the English language is the word should. And it's the last part of the mantra for tonight. What I lead, how I lead, and why I lead, and you should too. So I don't like that word. Should is a word used by people who want to use fear. And I don't want to be about that. But how I lead, what I lead, and why I lead, and I invite you to as well. Because you love what's inside of you. And you want to know what to lead in? This is how you find it. Another key, pay attention. Find your passion. That's it, simple thing. Whatever holds your passion will hold your leadership skills. So, well, that's great, Mary, but how do I find my passion? Easy. This is how it is. Another key. When are people listening to you? And when are they not? When are they tuning you out? You're like, they're just talking away, blah, 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 and I love this, my counting, blah, blah, and they're like tuning you out, and they're looking right past you, and they're not listening. That's probably not where your passion is. But when I start talking about food, and I describe a cut of meat, and how I'm going to sear it on the outside, and when it comes off the grill, we'll throw a pat of gorgonzola butter on it, let it melt through the grains. And when you slice into that, let it sit and rest just shortly so that no more juices come out. And when you taste that butter in your mouth, you feel, okay, you get what I mean? That's passion. And you're listening. Now, I don't know how you talk about passion about accounting. That's not me. But some people do. Okay? Whatever you're passionate about is where you're going to be able to lead. And pay attention to what you have energy on, what you have excitement on, what you want to be about. If it's about accounting, that's all right. If it's about, whatever it is, gardening, then that's what you can lead in. Find your passion. Step forth because you want to, because you've invited to. I'm 63, 20 years from now, my voice is not going to be probably lead much. But yours will. I invite you to find it. To be my voice then. As we are your voices now today in the community, soon they'll be yours. You need to speak for us. I invite you to speak for me. And whatever you do though, however you speak it with love, without fear, and with all the passion of your heart.